YouTube vinyl community, Bo Burnham fans, random people on the internet, my name is Giggens, and we're here today to talk about Bo Burnham's Inside, finally released on vinyl and CD in December of 2021, based, it's music from his Netflix special that came out earlier this year. Well, you're seeing this in 2022, so it came out in 2021. One of the most fascinating documents of the pandemic and mental health and comedy and society that I think has ever been constructed. It's a fascinating watch, and it's one of my most favorite things that came out of 2021 was this album and the songs and the movie itself. It's just captivating. From the second it starts to the second it finishes, you are hooked on this thing the entire time. And the songs from it are outstanding. It's funny, too, because I've never been a big Bo Burnham fan. I've known about him forever, ever since the dawn of YouTube. He's been making videos. And then he started doing his stand-up specials and his tours. And he was always on the radar somewhere, but I just never really got into him. And then one of my friends said, hey, you really got to watch Inside when it first came out. And I was like, all right. And so I put it on one night, and I was like, this is different. And then the music started playing, and he started singing about different things, and I was like finding myself really laughing at this. And then by the end of the movie, I had gone through every emotion that you can think of, between feeling depressed or sympathy for this guy, or realizing things you see in yourself from being in quarantine and the pandemic and everything else that's going on in this crazy world. It takes you on a roller coaster ride of emotions, and I was like, okay, I get it. Then I watched it like 100 more times. Went to see it in the theaters when it came out in the theaters a couple months ago, and then finally the record. So I bought it through his website as well as the CD. They still haven't showed up at the time of filming this, so I got the one from Target, which just came out on yellow vinyl, which looks really, really sweet. And I've got to say, before we even get into the music itself, the packaging on this thing is absolutely outstanding. Embossed title for Inside, the back cover, every single inch of this thing has detail on it, which makes for exactly what you'd want with a record. I mean, the inner sleeves have pictures, and obviously the records are yellow. I'll show you those as well, but I can't say enough about the packaging on this thing. You get your money's worth. It's truly a very well presented album. So, let's begin. It starts off with content, and a little bit of backstory here. Bo Burnham had stopped touring because he was having panic attacks on stage, and he took some time off. He made a couple of movies where he directed some movies, and in that time, he's kind of been quiet. And so this song is literally him saying, look, I'm back, I made you some content. And it's got this synth pop, dream pop, late 80s, early 90s feel that you can hear LCD Sound System, like his ears would perk up. James Murphy would be over there like, huh, taking notes. Because it's really got that quirky sort of synth sound, and it's such an earworm. But yeah, great introduction to the song, to the album, I should say. It's literally a very quick overview that kind of says, not feeling so good. Yeah, I missed my haircut. Like, things are starting to get kind of like, not the best, which had been feeling big time back then. And then he goes into a song called Comedy, which is truly an impressive piece of work. It's mostly a piano ballad, but the song continues to build and build and build, incorporating more instruments and, drum machine and all that kind of stuff before it ends. But a song about where do comedians stand in this world. Especially in the summer of 2020, there was a lot happening at one time. And that's what this song is about. Like, how is all of this stuff happening at once? Like, it's hard to accept what is happening all at the same time. And how do we joke about that? Can we joke about that? Should we be making jokes about this stuff? And the whole song is trying to say, like, look, we can ground ourselves if we try to find something to laugh at, because it'll make us be better people to understand what's happening with all these really important issues, and then try to focus on those issues and not be so overwhelmed. That's kind of what this song is about. There's a great middle bit where it's like, if you wake up with a house of smoke, don't panic, call me and I'll tell you a joke. It's like, if you stay grounded, you can get through a lot. And that's what this song is about. And it's a truly magical piece of work. It's one of the best things I heard in 2021. I mean, this whole album's fantastic, but that song in particular is very, very special. FaceTime with my mom tonight. A lot of us have been FaceTiming with our family over the last year and a half, or longer if you don't live with your family. But especially because of quarantine, you weren't supposed to go see people. So we were all FaceTiming with people. And it's just a very comical display on somebody talking to their mom who doesn't know really how to hold their phone the right way, or, you know, chatting with their dad, just normal kind of day-to-day stuff, but very funny song. How the World Works is a hilarious track that starts off as this cute little song that you may have seen growing up in a video at school of like your science class, where they talk about how birds do their thing with worms, and, you know, there's fish in the water and there's bears in the forest, like this kind of naturey stuff, how things work together and create this earthly common cause. So he's got his friend Sako to help him out, and Sako starts to sing about how the world works in terms of breaking down the establishment and all the horrible things the establishment does, and then tells you and spins it in a certain way. It's hilarious. It's extremely to the point, and he nails it. It's one of the funniest things I've heard. It's so concise and biting. Truly hilarious, especially done to the tune of like a boppy little kid song. Very well done. White Woman's Instagram, it's exactly that. It's every trope, every common thing you'd see on a standard Instagram post. It's, you know, someone holding hands from behind as they're running towards a beach. It's, you know, the pumpkins. It's little candles. It's poetry attributed to somebody else that didn't write it. It's every little cliche thing you'd see on an Instagram post in a song, and it's really, really funny. Unpaid intern, it's kind of a random one, but it's just literally about being an unpaid intern, and that's it. And then it jumps into Bezos 1, which is one of the most popular songs of 2021. I mean, it's so good. It's this big, beefy song about cheering on Jeffrey Bezos. Say what you will, but, you know, maybe a monster of a person who's created this monopoly. Not the biggest. No one's really a big fan of this guy, and Bo Burnham has written these 2 songs about him, basically, you know, tongue-in-cheek cheering him on, and it's one of the funniest things ever. It's this quick little punchy synthy thing with this synth solo at the end that's like the icing on the top, and then he screams before jumping into the song Sexting, which again, quarantine, sexting, you can put 2 and 2 together. Really, really funny song. I love the way he incorporates the A into AT&T, which is just really, really smart, man. Look Who's Inside Again. The theme of the album, you know, it's just about being stuck inside. And what do you do? How do you figure out how to talk to a camera? How do you figure out how to make someone laugh when there's no audience? That kind of feeling. Problematic is a song about looking back on your life and seeing that maybe I did do something wrong, or things haven't been the way, or things are going in a different way now than they used to be. Whereas things were more accepted back in the day, they're definitely not now, because we see the problems with some of those things. Times change, people change. It's just how life goes. Totally normal, totally cool. And it's about owning up to things that back in the day were pretty crappy, and realizing that and understanding that and becoming a better person from that. So it's a really fantastic song. Super punchy, really catchy, could be on the radio with no problem. Followed by 30, which is one of the funniest damn songs I've ever heard, about a guy turning 30, and I just recently did that a couple of years ago myself, and I was stoked to turn 30. I thought it was a good number, but it sounds like he's not so stoked, because it's an age where you start to be, perceived as an adult, if you will. Grown-ups start at 30. You know, that old adage, you don't trust anybody over 30. It's one of those things. So it's kind of a number that you're kind of like, about. And he writes this really funny song how, when his grandpa was 27, he fought at Vietnam. When he was 27, he built a birdhouse with his mom. It's like all these little bits and pieces of like thinking and comparing himself to others, but really, really funny. I'm going to try to go through the rest of these as fast as possible, because this video is already super long. Don't Want to Know is basically him on in the background as you are watching this, but also maybe cooking dinner or something, or talking on your phone while this is playing, because he knows he's on a Netflix special on your computer. Kind of a cool little song. I didn't get a song called Shit, which I think is the first time I've ever sworn on these videos, but it's a song about feeling like absolute garbage, and I could relate to this one tenfold. It was my most binged song, according to Spotify, of 2021. As you know, I made a video a while ago about quitting my job and everything else because I was going through one of the worst patches of my entire life. And this song I related to every single word of. It was like, you feel like absolute human garbage. You feel like a total waste. And it's incredible what isolation and, people putting you down constantly can do to your mental health. And that's what this song's about, deteriorating mental health. And yeah, it's hilarious. It's really funny, but it's also a super serious song. So I get it. But yeah, hell of a track. All Time Low was this quick little thing, basically explaining a panic attack constantly. Then you get Welcome to the Internet, which explains everything you can see on the internet. There's that line, everything and anything and everything all the time. Whatever you want, it exists on the internet. It's terrifying. And he also talks about how back in the day we had catalogs and magazines and phone calls and everything. It was so different 20 years ago. And now, every single thing you want is on the internet. You want to read about whatever, it's there. You want to watch a video about it, more than likely it's there. It's crazy that the entire sum of human existence knowledge is available at the touch of your fingertips. Terrifying. Cool, amazing, but terrifying. Bezos 2 follows Bezos 1, just cheering him on again in a total tongue-in-cheek kind of way. Really funny. And then you get That Funny Feeling, which is kind of one of the first serious songs on the album, where he goes into an acoustic feel where it's just him with the guitar, and he's singing about the sort of mundane things you can do to pass the time as you're reading about everything that's happening right now, watching everything that's happening, trying to understand how corporations are trying to be your friend, how you're going to obey all the traffic laws in Grand Theft Auto 5. Like, stuff that you would never think of normally is so commonplace now. It's a really fascinating document of reflection and introspection and understanding the world around you when it's changing so rapidly. And Phoebe Bridgers has started playing this song live at her shows, closing her shows with it. And it sounds like a Phoebe Bridgers song. It's perfect. They even performed it together, which I think is pretty amazing. But yeah, great song. Which then gets to All Eyes on Me, which is probably the anthem of the album. And it's a song about coming back to form, coming back to perform, and the pressures you feel. But the whole song is about, I'm ready. Look at me. Like, I'm ready for the attention. I'm ready to be up here for you. I'm ready to make you laugh. I'm ready for the criticism, the praise, the feedback, you name it. Like, it's all there laid out. And he actually mentions in that song why he went away, how he's coming back, and then he couldn't have come back because the pandemic happened. So it's a really beautiful song with a lot of pitches on his voice to make him sound a lot deeper like this. And it's a heavy track, especially with him pouring his heart out at the end. You can really hear the emotion breaking in his voice. Very, very deep song, and something that you really should listen to. I think it's a very moving song. And then Goodbye is literally a summing up of the album, kind of reflecting on everything that happened, even though I think he wrote it really early in the process. This whole special was done over the course of like 7 or 8 months. So in the beginning, you see him like looking kind of clean cut, and by the end, he's got long hair and a beard, because he really stayed inside and really didn't do much of anything besides record and make this movie, this special. And then Any Day Now, it just repeats the refrain, it'll stop any day now, it'll stop any day now, like hoping this thing will end sometime soon. And holy moly, do we all feel that. My God, please let this end sometime soon. Good Lord. So here's what the inner sleeves look like. Really, really well done pictures of him. So you got some of the information on here. It says producer, writer, as being Bo Burnham, direction and all that stuff. And then the record itself has a plain white label with a really nice translucent yellow that looks just fantastic. It looks really, really cool. You don't see white labels too much because that's normally reserved for promo copies, but for this, it matches the aesthetic perfectly. And the inside cover is just awesome. A big shot of him on the floor, surrounded by all his wires and cables and microphones and cameras as he records on the floor. Here's the back cover of him hanging out in his room. with the track selection on top. I adore this album. I adore this movie. It's one of the most special pieces of work I've ever seen, in that, you know, it's one long music video. Every single song has a video appendage to it. But it's such a moving experience. If you haven't seen it, it's on Netflix. I highly recommend checking it out. It's funny, it's sad, it's gonna send you through a roller coaster of emotion, so trigger warning, if you will. Some parts of it are kind of heavy. If you have struggles with mental health, it might be a little bit jarring because it really hits home. That feeling of anxiety is very prevalent in this thing. So heads up if you do watch it. But man, it's also really freaking funny and a lot of fun and super catchy and really well-written songs, well-sung songs. Bo Burnham really knocked it out of the park with this thing. So long video over. For me, this is easily a 10 out of 10 album for me. I know a lot of people might go, what? But I think it's great. It's relatable for a lot of us. It's funny. It's heartfelt. It's deep. It's moving. It's vulnerable. It's intimate. It's scary. It's one of the funniest things you'll ever hear. It's so much packed into one album and movie. But having the songs just on their own makes for a whole nother experience on its own. And I think that's something really special. So there you go. Bo Burnham's Inside, 10 out of 10. One of my favorite things to ever exist. I'll be totally honest about that. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Giggens. This has been Bo Burnham's Inside, out now. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care of yourselves.